There is a moment in life when we no longer seek to add years to our life, but life to our years. Have you ever felt that the place that is supposed to protect you is actually taking you away from your deepest essence? Have you ever had that doubt? That the solution everyone is offering you might not be yours? In this video, I share with you the painful truths that I discovered after entering a retirement home. Truths that few dare to tell. But if you or a loved one are considering this choice, you need to hear them before it's too late. Experience is a lantern hanging on the back. It only illuminates the path traveled. Chinese proverb. Loneliness. Even when surrounded, the silence of an abandoned heart is more deafening than the din of a crowd. There is something strange in these well-lit corridors, where the footsteps are discreet, the armchairs impeccably arranged, and the faces empty. It is not the emptiness of a room without furniture. It is the emptiness of a soul without echo. That's when I understood. You can be among others, and yet die alone, slowly, in silence. The caregivers pass by, quickly and kindly, but their gazes are hurried. Conversations rarely last more than a minute. "Hello, sir. Is everything okay?" A sentence asked out of duty, repeated dozens of times a day, like an automatic formula. But what I wanted was not to be asked if everything was okay. It was that someone felt that everything was not so. You who are listening, how many times this week have you really speak with your heart, without fear of being interrupted, without fear of disturbing? The rooms are full, but the souls are empty. The sound of the television drowns out the sighs. The curtains filter sunlight, but no rays penetrate some views. Some residents talk to each other sometimes, but it is never deep. We talk about meal times, the weather, the day's program. But no one talks about their pain, their regrets, their memories that still burn. For what? Because the space is not suitable for it. Because we no longer learn to listen without judging, without correcting, without advising. And in this cozy environment, souls cry out in silence. People don't need much. They just need someone who looks at them with eyes that say, "You matter to me." The hardest part is not being forgotten by the world. It's being forgotten while you're still alive. A man in the next room talks to a photo every morning. His wife, who disappeared 2 years ago. He tells her about his night, his pain, what he ate. He tells her what no one wants to hear anymore. And sometimes he cries. Not because he's sad, but because it's the only sincere interaction he still experiences. And you? Do you have a person to whom you can tell everything, without mask, without filter, without shame? There is an old lady here who knits endlessly. She hardly speaks anymore. It seems that his thread connects thoughts that no one reads. One day, I asked him, "What do you think about when you knit?" She replied without looking up, "I need to forget that no one talks to me anymore." The sentence passed through me like a silent arrow, because that's the real void. It's not the absence of people around you. It's the absence of connection, the absence of looking that really sees you. There was a time when we sang together, where we laughed over tea. Today, we line up the chairs, we lower our voices, we fill the prescriptions. We maintain the body, but the soul wastes away for lack of a hand that stretches without medical reason. And yet, what we need most is not another doctor. It's from a heart that opens, of a human who sits without a watch on his wrist. Someone who simply says, "Talk to me, I'm here." A word, sometimes, can be more nourishing than a meal. Sufi proverb. In this collective solitude, I understood something that I want to share with you now. It is possible to be alone in a desert, and yet alive, if your heart is inhabited. But it is also possible to be in a full house, and to die inside, for lack of listening, for lack of a mirror soul. It is not the physical presence that fills a being. It is the presence of the heart. And that, and no retirement home can offer it by contract. Only living love, a true human connection, can repair this breach. Who in your life today needs you to just be there, without saying anything, just present? And who do you need to say to, I'm here, you're not alone? The body cared for, but the soul neglected. There is something chilling in this regularity. Everything is on time. The white tablet at 7:15 a.m., blood pressure at 8:03, the lukewarm bath on Tuesday, Thursday's warm soup, the doctor who smiles, the file which opens, the figures which fall. More where is man in this perfect mechanism. We take care of your lower back pain. We control your pulses. We adjust your diet. More who sits in front of you and asks, how is your fire, your faith, your dreams that have not yet been lived? And you who are listening to me, do you still feel this flame within you? Or is there only a fragile light left in the darkness? In the silent corridors of medical establishments, hearts beat in unison from nothingness. They are not dead people. They are living people that no one listens to. Bodies that we move, that we feed, that we take care of. More abandoned souls, waiting for a word, a prayer, a shiver. It's not death that's scary. It's dying without having been alive. Yes, doctors excel in anatomy. They know everything about your kidneys, your blood pressure, your insulin levels. But who measures the emptiness in your eyes, or the weight of unexpressed silences? The soul does not feed on soup. She needs a look, a vibration, a sacred word spoken gently. She needs beauty, meaning, depth. The problem is not that we have forgotten about body care. The problem is that we believe that the body is everything. And yet, he who only treats the body only prolongs a passage, not a life. How many times have you felt better physically, but empty, as if a part of you wasn't there? And when was the last time you did something that healed your be and not just your envelope? An old lady I met here told me, I'm cared for like a green plant. They give me water, a little light, and they turn me towards the window. But no one comes to talk to me about God anymore. And in his eyes, I saw the spiritual distress of a generation that has been stripped of its sacred breath. Faith, here, becomes a memory. Something we whisper under our breath before going to sleep. No more group prayer, no more ancient stories, no more surahs sung in a low voice. Only sanitized TV programs and visits that are becoming rarer. When the soul is ignored, the body ends up complaining, but without knowing why. Ancient wisdom. Some honest doctors know this. Physical pain is sometimes the suffocating cry of the soul. Today, we call it depression, psychosomatic disorders, chronic fatigue. But the heart knows another language. It is the language of lack of meaning, from the absence of light. You can swallow all the medicine in the world. More none will replace a word that comes from the heart. And you, who are watching this video, are you living your life from the inside? Or are you moving in automatic mode? Do you still remember why you get up in the morning? Do you still have this sacred fire deep inside you, which calls you to grow, to love, to pass on? Or have you gotten used to being just a moving body, a well-coiffed figure, but void of passion? A man can survive without bread, but not without light. It's time to relearn how to care for the invisible. to give the soul its place in the healing process. And it won't come from a hospital, nor from a drug. It starts with a simple question. What does my soul deeply desire today? Absent nature, man needs roots so as not to get lost in the wind. There are walls all around, white, clean, practical walls. There are clocks, which mark the hours without ever slowing down. There are tiles, which reflect light without letting it in. But there is no the life, not the one who sings in the branches in the morning, not the one that quivers in the wind, not the one that grows between the cracks of the stones. What I lost here is not just a garden. It is the sacred link between my breath and the world. There are days when I close my eyes and try to remember. The crunching of leaves under my feet, the scent of wild thyme when I knelt to pray in the mountains, the sky above me, immense without artificial ceiling. But here, everything is settled. Everything is clear, too sharp. And in this surgical cleanliness, something in me fades, withdraws, gently fades away. You who are listening, when was the last time you breathed air that was not filtered by the air conditioning? Nature is not a luxury. It is a memory, a medicine, a living prayer. When I touched a tree trunk, I felt my heart slow down. When I watched the ants carry their treasures, I remembered that everything has meaning. And when I placed my hand on the earth, still warm from the sun, I felt that I was connected. Anchor, human. But here we are walking on plastic. We open windows that don't open. We look at plastic plants in sterile pots. And we forget that we miss the living world more than anything. The greatest miracle is still feeling the dew on your skin and wanting to walk barefoot in the grass. Do you know what I want the most? It's not youth. It's not physical strength. It is the right to get my hands dirty in the dirt. The right to get up at daybreak just to watch the light appear between the leaves. The right to sit at the foot of a tree without explanation, without permission. In this world, governed by calendars and protocols, nature has become a painting hung on the wall. But I need the smell, breath, of the living. And you, do you remember the last time you felt alive just by looking at a starry sky? Have you ever listened to a river like you listen to an old sage without saying anything, just by receiving? The absence of nature is not neutral. She dries up the soul, stifles emotions, freezes thoughts. A man who no longer touches the earth becomes dry, rational, mechanical. It works, but he no longer feels. And the worst part is that we get used to it. Little by little, we forget that the song of birds is a blessing. What the shadow of a tree is a silent prayer. What the smell of rain on the earth is a melody that we carry within us since childhood. One day, a young man visited me. He told me, "I'm stressed, I'm not sleeping well, I'm out of inspiration." I didn't give him any advice. I just handed him a handful of soil in a bag I had kept. He smelled it, and tears came to his eyes. He hadn't cried in 10 years, because it wasn't the earth that made him cry. It was the reconnection with what he had forgotten to be. He who walks without touching the earth forgets where he comes from, and no longer knows where he is going. African proverb. So yes, there is care here. Rules, routines. But without nature, the heart beats in an aquarium. And everything in me cries out softly for one thing, to feel life speaking to me again without words. By the wind, by the sky, by the leaves, by the echo of the water. When have you seen a sunset without a window between the two of you? Would you like me to develop the part 4? Loss of meaning in a new style, still different from this one, while keeping this emotional depth and inner richness. The loss of meaning, the morning. It's still happening. He knocks gently on the glass with his pale light. But some days, I don't get up to greet him. Why do it? I already know what awaits me. The same corridor, the same board, the same mechanical exchange. Slept well? I smile, by reflex. But inside, a dull question drums. Why am I still here? There was a time when my mornings were unusual. I got up to feed my children, to go teach, to write, build, advise, repair, even sing sometimes. But here, everything seems finished. Even the past, we put it in boxes. Photo albums are gathering dust. The stories are no longer told, and the inner voice is silent. What's the point of getting up in the morning when you have nothing left to give, nothing left to pass on, nothing left to build? I understood something that no one prepared me to feel. It is not old age that is painful. It is uselessness. It's having the impression that the world can very well continue without you. And in this feeling, we fade. Not by age, but by loss of purpose. And you, brother, sister, do you get up every morning with a mission? Do you still have something burning inside you that is trying to say itself? A woman in this house, formerly a nurse, no longer speaks much. But one day she whispered to me, I was caring for lives. Now I'm waiting for mine to end. I looked at her, and I saw a light off, but not permanently. I asked him, and if you could still pass on your knowledge to a young girl who dreams of becoming a nurse, would you do it? She smiled, for the first time in weeks. Because sometimes, it's not time that we lack. It's a mission. He who no longer has a reason to get up in the morning dies a little more each evening. It's a bitter truth, but also a call. The meaning of life does not disappear with retirement. The changes shape. Before, you fed mouths. Today, you can feed souls. Before, you built walls. Now you can build connections, memories, prayers. Before, you were chasing time. Today, you can speak to him gently, savor him. An elderly person is not a burden. She is a living book. But if we don't open it, if we no longer turn its pages, so this book closes slowly, and this treasure becomes silence. Do you still have a mission, a message, an unwritten poem? A word you never dared to say, a dream that you buried. Meaning, sometimes, does not come from the outside. It comes from a tiny detail, a smile given to another resident, a sweet word offered to the nurse who is running around, a memory written by hand and left on a table for whoever comes next. You're not fine as long as you breathe. And every breath carries possibility, a start, an offering, a pardon, a light. I believe that the biggest lie we are told is that old age is an end. No, it's a crossing. And for some, it's even the beginning of a deeper meaning than ever before. Because it's no longer the world that looks at you for what you do. It's your soul that looks at you for what you is, and that, maybe it's the start of a real mission. Forgetting the name, I am here, room 214. It's written in black on the door, just below the little eyelet. Caregivers sometimes read it out loud. Mr. 214, bath time. And I smile, by reflex. But inside I scream, I am not a number, I am a story. Before, I had a name, a real one. The one my mother shouted in the kitchen to call me to the table. The one that was pronounced with tenderness, with anger, with joy. Today, this name floats, suspended in a past that no one knows anymore. It only appears on a plastic bracelet. And every time I see him, he seems foreign to me. I remember the little boy I was, the one who ran barefoot in the alleys of his neighborhood, a kite in his hand, the one who dreamed of being a pilot, an explorer, a poet, all at the same time. The one who believed that the world would listen to him one day. But here, even my voice seems to belong to someone else. She's trembling. She hesitates. It is no longer that of the boy, nor that of man. She is that of a silence that we tolerate. And you? Do you remember the first name of your soul? The one you say when you dream? The one that the world has forgotten, but that your heart continues to hear? The worst thing is not being old. It's being invisible. I could walk down the hall naked, and no one would really look away. I could cry in the refectory, and I would be offered compote, not an ear. This is invisibility. When we no longer see in you anything but a state, a stage, an old. But I liked it, I betrayed, I have lost battles. I danced in the rain, I read burned books, I wrote letters that were never sent. I suffered entire nights without anyone suspecting it. And today, they say sir to me politely. More no one asks me anymore. Who were you? A nurse said to me one day, smiling, "You look calm today, Mr. 214. I didn't answer, because I was reliving in my head the day I saw my father cry for the first time. I was elsewhere, in a memory where my first name resonated with gravity, where every word had weight. Here, words are practical, functional. We speak to treat, to verify, to organize. More, no one talks to meet anymore. Who remembers who you really were, the child in you, the dreamer you were? Maybe you, there, listening. Maybe you feel this same divide, even in your active life. Because you can be young and already forgotten. You can have a full network and no longer have a mirror. A mirror that tells you, you are still you. You still count. There is a pain that we never talk about in retirement homes. It's not osteoarthritis. It's not insomnia. It is the pain of no longer being told. A human being without a story becomes a shadow. And you know what I would like, more than anything? May one day someone sit down in front of me and say, "Tell me about what you love, not what you've lost or your illnesses, just what makes you come alive." I believe that that day, I would be a century younger. I'm not finished. I'm invisible, but not erased. And maybe the day someone names me with their heart again, I will be reborn. Not in body, but in truth. The regret of having given in to fear, I'm not going to lie. I did not choose this life. I accepted it. For fear. A gentle, insidious fear, which does not scream, but tightens your throat every day a little more. Fear of falling, not to get up. Fear of becoming a burden. For my children, for others, for myself. But I realized today that the heaviest weight was not that of my tired legs. It was that of live without decision. I was told it was better that way. That I would be safe there. That I would be taken care of. And I agreed. Out of fatigue. For love too. Because I didn't want hinder. But deep down, didn't someone take me away? The last breath of freedom I possessed? The one to choose. That of saying no, I don't want to be buried alive. And you, have you ever made a choice out of fear, instead of following what your heart whispered? Have you ever given up your truth, so as not to disturb? I kept quiet, out of tenderness, out of guilt, by this invisible belief that as we get older we have to fade away. And yet, it is false. It is not age that destroys us. It's fear. The fear of no longer being useful. The fear of loving again. The fear of listening to yourself. The fear of claiming your place. The fear of saying, no, that's not how I want to end. It is not age that destroys a human being. It is fear that prevents him from living. When I walked through that door for the first time, the door to the retirement home, I thought I was going to find rest. But what I found, it's a dead peace, a soulless tranquility, an organization that strips you of your impulses. I was no longer a father. I was no longer a dreamer. I was no longer a creator. I was protected and lost. The saddest thing is not what we lose. This is what we stop hoping. Here, we live horizontally. We move forward without moving forward, unattended. But we no longer know what. And when waiting becomes your only activity, you have started to die. One day, I saw a man refusing to enter. He was 86 years old. He was offered a room, security, care. He replied simply, "As long as I can still talk to my lemon tree, I'm staying at home." I eat it. Then I cried. Because this man, in his fragility, carried a power that I had abandoned, the will to stay alive. What if you could age differently? What if love, community, and nature could be your home, rather than a cold and standardized place? What if we stopped associating old age with loneliness, loss, uselessness? What if, instead of grouping us by age, we reconnected with generations, with trees, with shared memories, with the earth? What if the last chapters of our lives were also the freest? I am not ashamed of my choice, but I am sad, not for me, but for those who believe they no longer have the right to choose. And if I speak today, it is for them, for you, for those who think that fear is reasonable. She never is. What you just heard, this is not a criticism. This is not a complaint. And it's definitely not goodbye. It is a call, a breath, a discreet light that I hold out to those who walk towards dusk, or who accompany those who go slowly. To you who watches this video with a heart still burning with love for your parents, your grandparents, your elders, don't confine them to what society calls comfort. Give them what the world has almost forgotten, the freedom to exist fully, to the end. What if you weren't there to care for them, but to listen to them? What if they were not tired of life, but only of no longer being seen as alive? Remember this, the body ages, yes. More the soul does not age. She waits, she hopes, it's still burning. Growing old is a privilege, but growing old consciously is a blessing. It's in all of our hands, to give meaning to the last few years, not to let fear, fatigue, or habit steal from us the beauty of this last act. It's not an end, it's a return towards the essential, towards simplicity, towards the original breath of life. So yes, if these words awakened something in you, even a simple tear, a memory, a silence deeper than the others, leave a comment. Tell us about what you felt. Share this video with those who need to hear this today, and subscribe to receive other messages of wisdom, vital energy, and inner light. Because as long as we breathe, it's never too late to live again.